Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Those who are in the military do such a service for all of us here in the United States. It's a big task. It's something that's major that you give of yourself, but it can be challenging on the back end when you're out of the military. And fortunately, there's somebody there that can help you with that life path. With career coaching, life coaching, he gets it. He is a veteran, and Thomas Smith joins us today. Tom, great to have you here. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's always good to be with you guys.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. And by the way, I want to say, first time we're talking here today. Thank you for your service.
It's an honor.
Yeah, it means so much. And having friends in the military and seeing what they go through. Unless I'm scraping the surface here. You would know better than I, but it's a challenge getting back into life and then realizing where you're going, and you might even be dealing with some things that you left behind in the military if it was a number of years ago. You today, would you like to walk us through the whole process from step one? Somebody is in the military, and then where we go from there.
I would love to. Actually, this is kind of a disclaimer, because there are a lot of clinicians out there that if you don't go to their school, you don't get their degree, their heads blow up if you say anything that's outside of their realm. So I'm a researcher. I have walked the walk. I'm talking the talk based on research. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not famous. I'm not rich or anything like that. I'm a veteran who has walked the walk, who has certified himself in 9 different areas of counseling, because the veterans are not being met. Their needs are not being met. And so I've done a tremendous amount of research from the leading experts like Paul Newham out of the UK, Psychology Today. I do massive research. So I guess the reason why I wanted to say this is that everything that I'm talking about is for the most part brain health high level, but I try to break it down so that way we normal people struggling with these things can understand what's actually going on. Why do you feel this way? Why can't you get back in the groove of life? So, going back to the very beginning, for all of us, most of us veterans, we go into the military because it may be the only chance that we have. I've served with a lot of guys, don't laugh, but they're either going to go there or to jail. So, they're going to serve because they don't want to go to jail. So once you go through your life's process and you become a young man or young woman and you want to figure out what your life is going to be like, a lot of times for a lot of us, the only way that we can really get out of the situation that we're in is by joining the military. And so what I would like to do is kind of walk us through what that process looks like, why we choose the branches that we choose. You hear a lot of people talking about, oh, they break you down and then they build you back up. No, they rewire your brain. And that's what we're going to really be talking about today. Each of us that serves into a branch, people don't, let me just try to break this down, Steve. So we choose a military branch based on our personality, based on our profile, and we match it with the profile of the military. For an example, when I went to go join, I went to stand in the Air Force. I was thinking about going in the Air Force. They wouldn't even look at me, man. I'm just a gungy kid. I'm not going to fit in their realm. They looked at me and they go, "You're not our profile. We're not interested in you." They didn't even say hi.
Wow.
So go to, I know, right? Because you have to be really.
Before we even continue, why? Like what was their rationale looking at, somebody that has let's say a passion for the Air Force, and you go, no, you can go now. Why?
Because their profile is they're looking for kids that are not gungy. I'm an ex-athlete. I'm big. They probably looked at me and said, yeah, you're not going to be a good fit, because most of the people that go into the Air Force are highly intelligent. They love computers. The Air Force, the rest of us give the Air Force a really hard time because we're just pissed because we couldn't get in. I mean, really, you have to have a really high test score to get in.
Gotcha.
They have a great life. You can run, but you can't hide. They have eyes and ears all over the world. So they looked at me and they're like, and I will explain my profile. So I go to the Army. They talk to me about, you'd be a great medic. Would you be interested in being a medic? And I'm thinking, that would probably be cool. Now, here's where the profile comes in. I didn't go talk to the Navy. Okay. You're not putting me on a boat with a bunch of dudes for 6 months. Hey, these guys travel the world. They have unbelievable stories. They have an amazing life. I am not that guy. I like my bedroom. I like my privacy. you're on a boat, you're traveling the world, you don't get off. So that's not my profile. I'm walking out of the recruiter's office, and here comes Gunny Carver. He was my recruiter. Where are you going? I'm like, I was getting ready. No, get in here. That's how they talk to you. So I got in here. He goes, sit down. In the big reel to reel videos, he's showing me a video of Parris Island, South Carolina, Marine Corps boot camp. And man, he knew what was going to happen. My head blew up. The video ended. I'm like, I want to be a Marine. He goes, yeah, I thought so. A month later, I'm riding a bus out of town going to Parris Island.
Wow.
So each of us have a profile. The Army's the largest. These guys, man, they come at you from everywhere. They're sea, air, land. I mean, the Army is huge. The Navy, they can reach and touch you from anywhere in the world. These guys are scary. The Air Force, they are the technician guys. They're the ones that's the eyes and the ears around the world to keep us safe. Marines, we're just first to fight. You pick a fight. We're also, people don't know, we are the president's own. We're the only branch of service that can be put into action without Congress's approval. So when there's something that breaks out, boots on the ground, jarheads, they're there locked and cocked and ready to go. So that's our profile of why and how we kind of choose the military. Now, here's the interesting part. This is what I really want to home in on. When people talk about you go into the boot camp and they tear you down and they build you back up, what's really happening, and this is the beginning of the end for us. When we show up to boot camp, they put us through a lot of mental stress. It's called rewiring, because you have to meet the profile of that specific mission of that specific branch. But no matter what branch you're in, you have to be rewired from a civilian into a person that is of the military in order to fit in. You tracking me?
100%.
So that's where the beginning happens. We go in and we have to be able to be wired. So when we graduate and we enter into what we call the Fleet Marine Force or the Navy, the Air Force, or whatever the case may be, we have to be able to adapt because of the stress that you're put under. It doesn't matter if you're in combat or not. That's what happens to all of us at ground level when we go in through boot camp. Each boot camp is designed for specific task, and they're going to rewire your brain for that specific task. That's why when they say once a Marine, always a Marine, no offense to the other branches, but they all know that once you're a Marine and you hold that Eagle Globe and anchor on graduation, you will always be a Marine. The rest of the branches will say, I served in the Army or the Navy or the Air Force. Not a jarhead, man. Once we're always wired. So following this through our boot camp and the rewiring process, we graduate, go into now our military. This is just to give you an example of a typical day. Keep in mind, Steve, I'm in supply battalion. Okay. I'm the guys that go to the field, they get their gear from me. So I'm not even on a front line. I was stationed in Hawaii, for goodness sakes, in peacetime. But you go into the military, you become trained. Now they're going to rewire your brain in order to handle what it is, the job that it is that you have. So we no longer are civilians. We're military. My regime every day was wake up at 0530, go to chows. You're standing in formation at 0700. You jump after that. They check you over your uniform. I want people to understand what our world is like when I say rewire and the stress that we live under. Now, I'm talking about my own personal experience. Everyone has their own, but I just want to share with you day-to-day activity. After you finish your morning routine where they check your uniform, your boots, you're all squared away, you jump in a van or a car, you run to work. You get out, you go back in, you stand in another formation. They check you over. They dismiss you, you go to work, you come back, stand in a formation. They check you over, you go eat chow, you come back, you stand in formation. You get finished, you go back to work, you get done, you go back and you stand in formation.
Wow.
And then this is just during the day. If you have what they call barracks duty at night, so now at 1800, you're locked and cocked outside because your job is to keep an eye on the barracks, keep it clean, and that rotates. So you do that, you can't go anywhere. And then at around 9 o'clock civilian time, you're formed up again. And then you go to your rack, and they could walk into your room anytime, day or night, and check your room, throw you out, inspect it. This is a typical day in a very low end stress level. Now you have the grunts that are out running by our information at 0530, or at 6 o'clock. They have their world. All of us have their own regimes. Now let's take it up a step. You go into the military, and guess what? Here's the thing that I want people to understand. When you say thank you for your service, let me explain real quickly. I just want to explain my view of this. Okay. We all raise our right hands. We all go into, it's called MEPS now. My days, it was AFES. That's the station where you go in and you get sworn in. That's where they tell you pretty much what's going to happen once you leave, and you're finishing up all the paperwork, and then they take you into a room. In that room, you're standing in formation and you raise your right hand. Steve, this is when people tell me, thank you for your service. And when you tell other veterans, thank you for your service, this is the part I really want to drive home so people understand from now on. That young man or young lady is standing there, usually coming from a very difficult life. They're trying to better themselves. Some kids grow up. I'm going to be in the Navy. They might be fourth, fifth, sixth generation. My father is a World War II Marine. He was in Saipan and was injured and was released. But we raise our right hand to protect our country, both foreign and domestic. Right now, it could almost be domestic. We sign on the dotted line. When we sign on the dotted line, that is a contract. What it says in that contract is you no longer will have any rights to yourself for the rest of the time in here. You just signed your name. You are now a property of the United States government. We will send you anywhere we want you. You have filled whatever needs. You have no rights. Shut your mouth. Do as you're told. Sir, yes, sir. See what I'm saying? So when these people are leaving their mothers, their fathers, their siblings, some cases their children, the love of their life to go for a higher calling, and they give all those rights up. And so that's why when these guys go into combat, they go into combat at a whole nother level. Most that go into the military over the stress, I have counseled guys that's been in the Navy 28 years that have PTSD to the highest level under that stress as an officer that whole length of time. Do you see what I'm saying? Then you put these guys into a situation where it's combat. Oh my God, where it's fight or flight. Your brain is reprogrammed to fight or flight, regardless of what branch you're in, just to be able to survive in that strict regime of military life. See what I'm saying? So they go into combat, fight or flight. I have heard in counseling veterans some of the most horrific stories. They don't want to share it because they don't want to relive it. And coming up in hopefully part 2, part 3, I want to get more into what that looks like. But right now, I just want people to understand who we are. We're rewired for the military. We go in and we serve our country. And our whole objective is to serve you. When you say thank you for your service, when I see someone's face, young, old, that come up to me in grocery stores or wherever, because I'm a jarhead, we always in our gear. You know what I mean? We like to represent. My sons, when they were younger, used to flip out when they would always be like, Dad, do you know him? Do you know her? And I'm like, no. Well, why do they say that? Because they appreciate what I've done. And so they've grown up in that military family. Sure. And they understand what that respect looks like. And what that means to me is I served for you because we serve America. You and I and everyone watching or hearing this, we are America, Steve. Do you know what I'm saying? We live and the rest of the world calls us in America. We're Americans, but we went in to serve to make sure that you're going to be taken care of. And it's a higher calling. And it's something that we're all really super proud of, regardless of what we did for a job. We're proud to call ourselves veterans in the job that we did for whatever it was, that job that we did.
I got to tell you, Tom, even hearing you speak now, such an eye opener, because even in the early stages of your military career, having to stand in formation so many different times during the day, you know, we don't even see that in movies because they only show you pieces of things. So
Right.
it's like a mind blow for me because I'm thinking, all right, get up in the morning, you get your routine, formation, uniform, maybe once during the day. I don't know. Definitely, in the evening, maybe two times, whatever. No, not like continually where it's just like they're hammering you to make sure you
Uh-huh.
continually conform. I'm not saying it's a bad thing because that is the military and you need to be on
Right.
point, but uh, even if for somebody in the military not suffering from PTSD, just that alone, where you just said you signed it away, we're going to do whatever we want with you. That's pretty
Mhm.
powerful stuff and a pretty powerful commitment.
It is. And the thing that I see a lot of these guys that were in combat and it was horrific, and they asked them, because I'm a part of so many veterans organizations,
Sure.
would you go back and do it again? Every single one of them says absolutely. And coming up, maybe the next episode of this, I would really like to get into what serving actually means to all of us, and to see what the life is like being in the military, and why the struggles. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because when I talk to veteran after veteran after veteran, and they're going through whatever counseling sessions they're going through, and they're saying, man, that was a waste of time, that was a waste of time, it's because the cookie cutter. Now, this is no disrespect to anyone, unless you've walked in our shoes, you have no idea, because you cannot take the DSM-5 and just go, oh, they check this, 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 and this, or this and this. And so you have this, or you have this. We'll treat it with this pill, or we'll treat it with this drugs. Steve, I worked with the guy that had 40 pills a day. They were giving it to him from the VA. He was like in a total cloud. How you cannot help somebody that in that situation. And he was a jet mechanic in his day in the military, incredibly bright in the Navy. And now he's like a walk around vegetable, because all they do is throw medicine. Pills manipulate the brain,
Oh,
and
yeah.
all it does is treats the symptoms, not the situation. And that's what I want to try to bring to light.
And I'm totally on your page in a number of ways. Seriously, Tom, like when you first started talking in terms of research, I'm a fact guy. The facts don't lie.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah, right.
that's that. And
Uh-huh.
same thing with popping pills. There's a place for medication, but you need to exhaust all uh, things first before you start downing pills. I have a question based on what you experienced in the
Yeah.
military, especially in the early stages. What was your biggest surprise?
Going into the Marines,
Yeah.
um, I had researched it quite a bit. My father was a Marine, so I kind of understand the mentality. But I think what really caught me off guard was every night, and this is not to be made fun of, this is very serious. Every night when we would stand along our lines, and there was 72 in my platoon, we
Mm.
would stand on line, and you'd be at attention, and then they would be like, go, and you'd all run, and you would jump in your rack, and you would lay there at attention in your rack, and we would sing the Marine Corps hymn every single night. And when we were done, they would be like, at ease, or I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was the everyday routine, drilling, marching for 4 5 hours, the discipline, the pride. And you would go to class every morning, and they would teach you the history of the Marine Corps. And I think just becoming that new person, you no longer think of really, the old world. You think about where you're at just to survive. And so I think the biggest surprise was the camaraderie, that we all share. And it doesn't matter what branch. We give each other a lot of crap. Nobody else can. But I mean, I'm a president of Warrior Wishes Montana. It's a veterans organization here in Billings, Montana, that I'm the president of, and then I run. But there's others that do other things with veterans, but we all love and support one another, regardless of when we served, where we served, what our rank was, what our color was, what our sex is. We don't care. We all signed up for the same team, and we're all undefeated. Take that, America. your team is undefeated in battle.
Wow. Yeah, it's funny when you put it that way, because a lot of us on the other side here, we don't think that. Yes, we respect, we appreciate, and where would we be without our military in terms of having that confidence that our country is strong? But all of these things, we take it for, I'm going to say it, we take it for granted because we don't know until somebody like you brings it to light, and the after effects of which you help veterans with in terms of their life coaching and counseling and career. I got to tell you, man, in the last couple of minutes, I get rewiring, and I'm on board for that in life in general. We all come with baggage. We all come with things we need to heal from. You got to get the garbage out before you put the good stuff back in or in. But I never thought how deep it runs in the military in terms of rewiring your brain. And
that is why, and again, and I don't mean to put anyone down, but until you've walked in our shoes, the reason why veterans don't really care much for just your typical clinicians is because they all say the exact same thing. You have no idea who we are. You're just taking that cookie cutter little DSM, but you don't understand. And that's why this is so important in the next segment, is to get more deeper into the hardwiring of the brain. Because running to the end of the movie real quick, the reason why these guys are getting out of the military and coming back at home, and there's 22 a day, because their brain needs to be rewired back to be able to focus and function back in the real world. That's the bridge that I work in. That's the bridge I talk about.
Fascinating talking with you today. That we're having a little bit of audio trouble and video trouble on your feed. But what you've said so far has been what an eye-opener and what an important function that you have, and it being there. And I got you back now. I think it's clear in terms of your video, but how important it is that you connect and relate to people in the military, because you're right. I can't see, and there's a lot of great counselors out there. I can't see how they could even relate in terms of dispensing advice and guiding somebody through without having been there. All right, looks like we have a audio and video challenge coming for you, Tom. And we're just about finished here. So I'm going to give your email address, if that's okay. I'm waiting for you to come back. What happened to our video? Might be an internet connection on your end there. But pthomassmithcounseling@gmail.com. pthomassmithcounseling@gmail.com. And Thomas Smith, thank you. Thank you for your service, but thank you so very much for being with us today and giving us a look at the other side of the military that we don't get to see. And it's been an eye-opener, and I appreciate it. And we'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.